Watch this.
Day 5 into the investigation of a quadruple homicide in Moscow. There have been a few developments today. We're going to hear the latest from up north. So how do you beat the inversion? Well, you hit the trails, and now there's a way to see in real time what those trail conditions look like.
And this just kind of gives them a little thing to hang on to.
That little thing goes a long way. 25 years of making teddy bears for kids in the hospital. We spent some time with a group of women who are making a stay at St. Luke's a little less scary. A day after a less than revealing news conference in Moscow, Idaho, the college town is still on edge with no suspect in custody. Police are looking for someone who killed 4 University of Idaho students in their home early Sunday. Those students, 20-year-old Ethan Chapin from Conway, Washington, 21-year-old Madison Mogan from Coeur d'Alene, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle from Post Falls, and 21-year-old Kaylee Gonzalez from Rathdrum. News Channel 7's investigative reporter Alex Duggan is live in Moscow right now. And Alex, we've had a few things come out today about this investigation. 5 days later, what are we learning today that's new from what we heard yesterday?
Brian, we know the Latah County coroner today confirmed the deaths of those students as a stabbing and as a homicide. This town right now is currently grieving. There's signs everywhere that say prayers for our vandals. We also know that the behavioral analysis unit, as we learned today, is assisting in the case. Hopefully they may be able to create a profile of the suspected killer, but that is not confirmed by police, and they won't talk about what the behavioral analysis unit is exactly doing within the investigation. But they do also do a lot of crime scene investigations, and they provide interview techniques and things like that. They provide a lot of help with investigations in this small town.
There were a couple questions yesterday during the press conference, the news conference yesterday, about the timeline of where these 4 may have been the night before, the morning of this murder. Do we know anything more about that today?
Brian, we don't know anything more about that. We just know that they were possibly at a bar that night, and the couple, Ethan and Xana, they were at a party. We do know that they arrived back home around 1:45 in the morning, and they were pronounced dead around noon on the Sunday of November 13th. I did speak with the Corner Club owner today. He could not confirm if the 2 were seen there. Maddie and Kaylee, but he did say his heart hurts for the community, the students and his employees right now who are also grieving.
I can imagine that mood is kind of spread throughout the entire town at this point, the entire community. And as an alum of the U of I, what is the feeling in Moscow right now with all this going on?
Excuse me, Brian, it's really difficult around here. Nobody's very chipper. Nobody's happy. There's just signs everywhere saying that we should pray for the vandals, and I feel like I do grieve along with them. This was a huge impact on the community, and students are trying to go home. They're scared. They're walking in pairs. They don't go out at night. They're visibly frightened.
I can only imagine. All right, Alex Duggan live in Moscow this evening. Thank you very much, Alex. Meanwhile, Moscow police and ISP are still looking for more information from anybody who may have seen these girls and this gentleman, Ethan Chapin, at any time during that night, who they may have been with, where they may have been, to kind of fill in this timeline. If you do have tips or information, as some of these students are coming back down into the Treasure Valley from being up in Moscow and being sent home early, if you do have tips or information, call the number that is on your screen, 208-883-7180. Of course, the news has been heavy these past couple of days, makes it hard to process and kind of, well, face the day. Sometimes, something mental health experts will tell you, you got to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And one thing you can do in the Boise area especially, get out in the foothills for a hike, a breather, take in some fresh air, maybe even see the sun in times like these. Just get away for a bit. This time of year, though, the trail systems see conditions that people need to avoid. If they're muddy or wet trails, they can be damaged if people decide to use them, leading to closures. And while too much damage is done, those trails can be ruined. Boise Parks and Rec want people to enjoy the trails for sure, but they are also drawing attention to the fact that some people get to those trails, they see the bad conditions, and they think, well, I'm not going to do too much damage, and they continue on anyway. So there's a brand new tool to let people know real-time trail conditions. Here's Joe Paris.
Winter temperatures are here, but that will never keep Idaho adventurers inside and off the trails. This time of year, though, there are extra consideration for those trail goers.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely headed into muddy trail season, and it is something that people need to be aware of and kind of be well informed before they hop out on the trail each time they go out.
Lisa Duplessis is the Foothills and Open Space Superintendent for Boise Parks and Rec. She explains, hitting the trails when there are muddy and wet conditions can cause issues. There's a reason why Parks and Rec and trail managers ask people to avoid trails during those times.
If people go on muddy trails, it can cause a lot of erosion. We have a lot of clay in our soil, so it can cause rutting and just lots of different issues with the trail. It can widen it unnecessarily and just not be good for the system as a whole.
Yes, the trails are maintained and monitored, but there is a lot of land out there. It's really a community effort to make sure that the trail system remains in good condition.
We're a small crew trying to keep 200 miles of trail usable. And so the more we can educate and have people work with us to keep it maintained, the best.
Part of that education effort, a brand new tool, real-time trail condition updates.
What people can do is come onto the website, and in the top left corner, there's a drop-down menu, and you can go to current trail conditions. And so as you click that, there's a color-coded key, if you will, and it kind of lets you know the current conditions of trails. So red, muddy, try and stay off. And then it goes all the way down. So, you know, some trails this time of year are frozen and then will thaw during the day. So they're okay to be on in the morning, but it's not something you want to do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it gives kind of all that different information, lets you know if it's snow covered, and just really will help people make a safe choice for not only them, but also the trail system.
So, how are the real-time updates aggregated?
We have a trail crew that goes out and assesses trails and tries to have that updated each morning. The other thing that people can do is we also post updates on our Ridge to Reverse Facebook page, and if people are out there and see something that we don't, they're more than happy to comment, let us know, or even email us and let us know if there's a condition that we somehow missed or haven't gotten up yet.
The hope is that the real-time info will help illustrate the impact people can have on the trail system.
Muddy trail season is something that we've always been challenged with, and trying to educate people even as they get on the trails or just talk about it in general, but this is an actual hands-on tool that they can use. So it's something we've been talking about for a long time, and now have just been able to actually get in the works and make it happen for everyone.
Good habits now will translate to better conditions when the warm spring returns next year.
The damage that's done this winter, and even going into the spring, is hard for our crew to maintain. So there's 200 miles of trail, and as trails get damaged, it takes a lot of time to fix that in the spring and summer going into the next year for heavy use. So it can cause the trails to be more dangerous for people to use, and just in general not great for the trail environment.
And you can find the link to this brand new map in this story at KTVB.com. We'll have that up here shortly after the news at 5 here on the 208. But Brian, a conversation that I wanted to have, and just to be frank here, there are people that I've spoken with that say, well, I know how to be on the muddy trails. I know what I'm supposed to do. I can walk around the issues. The problem is if you have a whole city of Boise and everyone says, well, I know how to do it. Then all of a sudden, then no one's doing it.
Well, and I get it. Maybe you have to drive to the foothills. Yeah. Maybe you're in the South County area and you went, I just came all this way. I want to get in a run. I'm not going to do that much damage, kind of thing.
Right. So now the tool is for anyone that says, well, I showed up, I don't know. Yeah, you don't make the drive. You can look online. You can say, oh, okay, this is an area that I shouldn't be going to. And something that Boise Parks and Rec is also talking about is this tool is also a great thing to discover new trails and new adventures out there in the foothills. Some people are creatures of habit. They like to do the same thing over and over. This way, if your favorite trail needs some maintenance or it's too muddy, a lot of other options.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. There's a teddy bear factory in Boise that has been cranking out those stuffed critters for a quarter century. That would be tens of thousands of kids who have been made to feel safer at the hospital. You have any feel-good stories for us? We could use them. How about a comment or even a question? Text us, 208-321-5614. Don't forget to include your name and the hashtag #the208. We're going to try to share as many as we can at the end of the show.
I am so proud of this. I worked really, really hard, and it is okay to say I'm proud of myself for the work that I've done to get here. Worth it, worth every bit of it.
A bronze medal, how about that, in the first ever International Women's Street Luge event, the World Championships. Emmett's own CJ Hollingsworth Wilkinson made it to the podium. We first introduced you to CJ a little more than 3 weeks ago when she was getting ready to head to Argentina for the World Skate Championships by riding her luge board down Bogus Basin Road really quickly. And not only did she win her first international medal in Argentina, she suffered her first real injury in 8 years doing this sport. During a time trial 2 days before her race, CJ says she was going about 50+ miles an hour. She got a little offline, got a little wobbly, and her brakes weren't working well enough. And, well, she was able to slow down to about 40 miles an hour before she hit the hay bales hard, hurting her lower back and her hips. She said she woke up the next day feeling like she had been in a car wreck, which she kind of was, actually. Stiff and sore and having second thoughts, CJ told us she actually considered calling it quits.
I did. That morning I said, I don't think I can do this. I'm so sore. And I told myself out loud, I didn't come here just to come here. So my girls and I, we just all loaded up and we went up to the hill and I tried to stretch. And
they're off. Big push.
And like CJ said, she did not travel 4 days to a foreign country to not compete.
Sabrina on the left.
It was a 4-woman race for the final that by the first turn,
come on inside, come on inside.
CJ gonna take the inside.
Yeah!
Turned into a pursuit for podium positions.
Go, go, go! Come on, Siege!
That's Mama Wilkie's sister, by the way.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Watching and cheering her on from Idaho.
CJ in third.
CJ said her goal was to just keep up with her teammate, Sabrina Riffenberg.
she was laying down some fast times, and I've never been able to keep her in the same corner as me, keep her in my sights. And to be able to race alongside her, knowing her experience and how strong of a competitor she is, was really a thrill.
Looks like Pastor first, Sabrina second, and CJ in third.
And to still be in third place just boggles my mind. One, the mental tenacity, the wherewithal to overcome the fear of crashing, because I was going pretty fast. When I did crash, unnerved me at first more than it hurt. But to overcome that, to want to enjoy the experience, to be a part of and share it with those women was very compelling, and I'm glad I did.
Third in the world, and not only that, in the inaugural event for women's luge, street luge.
I hope that people look at that and say, I want to do that. I don't care how old they are, or I think my daughter would love that, or sons, just to get more exposure for our sport, but especially for women's sports. Maybe it inspires somebody somewhere along the line to want to do what we do.
The racing part aside, CJ enjoyed the trip as much as possible.
Oh my goodness, eat steak. I had steak for breakfast and steak for lunch and steak for dinner and steak for breakfast, and it was delightful.
And even half a world away, she would get the age-old question.
¿Cuántos años? Like, how old are you? I'm like, old enough to know better and young enough not to care, is what I would tell them. But yeah, I turned 59 yesterday, and wow, what a trip. I think riding luge actually keeps me younger because there's the joy component that we've talked about, and to have your mind happy and healthy, the body tends to follow.
Okay, so your first one in the books. First one.
Yeah,
we're going to do this again?
We are. So Italy is where the 24 games are. And I have my eyes set on it. I have a lot to learn. I believe that as I continue to get better and continue to train and continue to learn, there's no reason why I won't be in Italy. I'm coming for the gold this time. I was coming for it last time too.
Well, CJ says she and her team were treated like royalty by the locals. Her only regret was that her Spanish was not better, so she could thank their hosts properly. As far as Italy in 2024, CJ says her outlook on her sport is now a little bit different. After her Argentina experience, she said it was like going from go-karts to Formula One racing. So she's got a little bit more competitive edge now and is going to train accordingly. As for that medal, well, CJ says she may take it off to sleep tonight. Maybe. All right, back in 1998, a pediatric nurse working in the surgical unit of St. Luke's Children's Hospital had an idea. She had seen enough kids come into her unit looking scared and needing comfort. And in a sterile setting like pre or post surgery, that comfort couldn't come from just anywhere, but it could come from a teddy bear made especially for them by a group of women who meet every Wednesday every week. In a meeting room at Boise's Dick Eardley Senior Center, you'll find,
Hi, Jeannie.
well, seniors.
Love your hair.
But this
Good morning, Janice.
isn't your normal
How are you?
senior sewing circle.
It's the Teddy Bear Factory. Original.
Since 1998, some version of this group of gals has come together once a week
We have stuffers, we have sewers.
You got my stuffer?
with one task in hand.
We are making teddy bears for the children.
Children who are heading into surgery or on the scary end of some other procedure at St. Luke's Children's Hospital.
You know what? They can't take their own toys.
And this just kind of gives them a little thing to hang on to.
A little thing to hang on to
They're huggable and soft.
can also be used to describe this group.
I don't know who benefits more, the children or we do, because of the camaraderie, because of the kind of group therapy we share on one another's happinesses and sadnesses.
And they celebrate each other's milestones.
And Iris just had a birthday last week. Hey, she had her sweater on yesterday.
Like a family
And so it's really good for all of us.
that always welcomes new members.
Chris is a fairly newcomer.
Granted, newcomer takes on a new meaning
Good one.
here.
I love what we're doing.
But some of these ladies, like 81-year-old Jan Cundiff,
But I love the ladies.
have been doing this for more than a decade.
You know, the time's gone so fast. I didn't realize that.
I found a home.
Not even a paralyzed vocal cord
I'm so quiet.
could keep Jan from coming every week.
Somebody doesn't show up. Where are they at? How come they're not here? Who's missing today?
Some days when nearly a dozen do show up,
Grace and Beatrice.
between the batting
And we go through a lot.
and the banter,
They probably sanded it too, don't you think?
they can build dozens of bears,
It's got a nice face.
which add up to
45,686
quite a bit over the years,
since 1998.
which has meant a lot
It's a lot of bears.
to a lot of kids.
It's interesting because we've had people stop in and say, oh, our daughter has one of those, got so many years ago. And that's fun to hear.
And that's why the Teddy Bear Factory keeps stuffing and sewing and won't likely stop.
Oh, sure, we got a whole tub full there. We can be busy forever.
Many hands make light work,
And they seem to love them.
no matter how old those hands may be.
We have a good time together.
Those ladies are there every Wednesday from 9 to 11 in the morning. 45,000 bears they've done so far. So how do they pay for all of those? Well, the group told us St. Luke's kicks them a couple $100s each year, but mostly it comes from donations, either materials like the batting or the flannel, but they'll gladly take money as well. Jan, who showed up with the stuffing, said she just recently bought 6 20-pound boxes of that stuffing for $386. So they go through a lot of it, about 10 pounds a week. And if you'd like to donate, they ask you to drop off materials or even a check made out to the Teddy Bear Factory at the Dick Eardley Senior Center by Fort Boise.
So if you haven't noticed, I just wanted to show you the foothills. They're a little more visible than what they were yesterday or even from this morning. We're getting some winds, not so much in the valley, but east of Boise, out toward Mountain Home and Twin Falls. We're getting some gusty winds in some of those spots, and it's kind of helping to kind of clear some things around the area. If you take a look here, Ontario still has, and Huntington, some of those spots. In the west end of the valley still has some yellow moderate category even into Weiser, but it is green, as you can see from McCall all the way down to Idaho City. And speaking of all the way down, let's go down to here into the valley, and you'll see that the air quality is high at green, but it's still pretty good. It's much better, especially Twin Falls and Burley, and you can see Sun Valley, which continue in the green category. At least they've dropped a little bit from that. If you notice, the current temperatures are basically into the 30s. I'm going to illustrate these winds right now. It's 31 degrees in Twin Falls, and the winds in Twin east at 16, 9 in Mountain Home. So it's breezy over here, but not so much Boise eastward, as that frontal system has moved down here from the north. But here's what it's doing with the wind chill. Right now, in Twin Falls, it's 16 degrees. It's 30 degrees for the wind chill in Boise, but very cold. You see 26 degrees Mountain Home and eastward. So as you look at the 7-day forecast, tonight the temperature's down to 20. Even though the colder air is coming in, it's not quite as cold because we have the overcast. But when it clears up, I think we'll have partly cloudy tomorrow morning, sunny in the afternoon. Look at those low temperatures, 17 for Sunday, 18 for Monday. Temperatures start to warm up here into next week, though. See, look at Wednesday and Thursday. So we could get some snow, but I don't think it's a lot. Could mix in with some rain or snow, and more in the way of some scattered showers. Temperature gets back up to about 45 degrees. The 10-day temperature trend shows these cold temperatures, but Tuesday's kind of the changing point. We get into some of those 40s, and here's a Friday where we could get, this time next week, near 50 degrees. What a change. That gets us much closer to the normal where we really should be, but we're awfully cold right now and prepare for a cold weekend.
All right, final minute of the show. Let's get to your comments today. Lori's got some advice for you if you plan on using some of the trails this season. Best advice? Not planning on taking a hike after 9 a.m. Go early when the ground is still frozen, and please be aware of the trails, she says. I worked at St. Luke's for 14 years. We handed out so many of these darling bears to grateful kids. We always enjoyed when the latest bag of teddy bears when they arrived. That was from Melissa. This one, when our 5-year-old son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at St. Luke's ER, one of their adorable creations made his new life and ours just a little more bearable. Thank you, ladies, said David in Boise. Okay, Brian, as a Southern boy, I appreciate the Grand Ole Opry Porter Wagner jacket today. That's Michael from Star. And oh, this one here. You plan on playing the sax after the show? I'm not. I don't blow that well.